Imagine a nation betting its entire future on one single, audacious plan, a multi-trillion-dollar roll of the dice to completely reinvent itself before the clock runs out. Well, you don't have to imagine it, because that's exactly what's happening right now in Saudi Arabia. And the stakes, they could not be higher. Now, that is the sound of supreme confidence. When you hear Saudi officials talk about their national transformation, they don't talk in what-ifs. They talk about a future that, in their minds, is already here. This quote from the Minister of Transport, it really tells you everything you need to know about the conviction that's driving this whole thing forward. But, behind all the bold statements and the shiny project videos, there's a real tension here. A change this massive doesn't happen without a cost, without controversy. So the real question we have to ask is, what is the true price of building this new reality? To really get why they're making this enormous gamble, you first have to understand the deadline they're up against. For almost a century, Saudi Arabia's identity, its wealth, its power on the world stage, it all came from one thing: oil. But that whole era, the one that built the modern kingdom, yeah, it's coming to an end. This chart right here says it all. Historically, oil made up a staggering 75% of the government's entire revenue. Think about that. When 3/4 of your budget depends on one single volatile thing, you're not standing on solid ground. You're balancing on a razor's edge. And that razor's edge, it's only gotten sharper. The world is shifting to renewable energy, oil prices go all over the place, and, let's be honest, oil is a finite resource. All of a sudden, the very thing that made the kingdom so rich became its biggest vulnerability. They had no choice but to find a radical new way forward. And that new way forward is called Vision 2030. This was launched back in 2016 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and it is so much more than just an economic policy. It's the master plan to fundamentally rewire the whole nation. We're talking economically, socially, the whole shebang. The entire plan is built on these three big ideas: a vibrant society, that's all about improving life for the citizens, opening up to tourism, concerts, entertainment, a thriving economy, this is the big one, break that oil dependency, and an ambitious nation, that's about making the government modern and efficient. It's a blueprint for a total national reinvention. So, how do you even begin to pull off a plan this massive? Well, you go all in. The amount of money being poured into this it's almost hard to wrap your head around. It's flowing into every sector you can think of to kickstart this new reality. The numbers alone are just staggering. Okay, let's start with logistics. At just one conference, they signed over $5 billion worth of deals. Why? The goal is to use their incredible location right at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and Africa and become the central hub for global trade. Next, they're looking underground again, but this time it's not for oil. The kingdom is sitting on an estimated $2.5 trillion in untapped minerals. We're talking cobalt, manganese, all the stuff the modern world runs on. This is their shot to pivot from just being an energy giant to becoming a global mining powerhouse. And they're not just digging stuff up and shipping it out. The plan calls for a huge expansion of the country's industrial muscle. The target? 36,000 factories up and running by 2035. That's up from about 12,000 in 24. This is a massive push to build things right there at home. And maybe one of the changes you can see the most is tourism. The original goal was 100 million tourists a year by 2030. Well, they completely blew past that target years early. So what they do? They raised the goal to 150 million. It's a perfect example of just how fast the country is opening up to the world. But look, this isn't just throwing money at a wall and seeing what sticks. There is a clear strategy here. Step 1, build these huge world-class industrial hubs. Step 2, target specific high-growth areas like aviation and even electric cars. And step 3, create programs like the Regional HQ program to convince the world's biggest companies to move their operations to the kingdom. All right, so after years of this and hundreds of billions of dollars spent, how is it actually going? It's time to check the scorecard. And what we see is a real mix of some absolutely incredible successes and some pretty major challenges. So let's look at the data, because the wins are undeniable. The number of women in the workforce has more than doubled. I mean, they absolutely shattered their original goals. The private sector is playing a bigger role in the economy. The country's investment fund has just exploded in value, and they've jumped 20 spots in global competitiveness. These are real, tangible results. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing.
The assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi back in 2018 really put a damper on international investor confidence. Foreign investment has consistently missed its very ambitious targets. And of course, the kingdom is still facing serious criticism over its human rights record, with some accusing them of sports washing, using big sports events to distract from these issues.
So, where does that leave us? We are watching one of the most ambitious national transformations in modern history play out in real time. The progress is absolutely there, you can't deny it. But the obstacles? They are just as real. Which brings us all the way back to that ultimate question. Will this colossal trillion-dollar gamble actually pay off?
We don't have the final answer yet, but one thing is crystal clear. An entire nation is betting its whole future that the answer will be yes.